Welcome to Breaking News to Trading Moves. Today we're looking at a corporate move that tells a story about where big companies are pulling back and, maybe more importantly, where they're pushing forward with their spending.
Yeah, we're talking about Amazon's recent investments. They've announced some corporate headcount reductions, and it seems less about just pure cost-cutting and more about redirecting that money. So we want to look at which sectors, which specific companies might feel the effects of this strategic adjustment, both the upsides and the downsides.
Okay, let's get into the specifics then. What kind of numbers are we actually talking about with this restructuring at Amazon?
Well, the headline number is Amazon cutting about 14,000 corporate roles. It's worth remembering, though, that this came after some earlier reports suggested a much larger number, maybe up to 30,000 corporate positions, were being looked at internally.
Right, so 14,000 confirmed.
Hmm.
And the way Amazon's leadership is talking about this is quite specific, isn't it? It's not your typical, recessionary cutback.
Not at all. They're being very clear, it seems. The message is this is strategic reallocation. The savings are apparently meant to help them go faster on AI, to boost their core AWS cloud business, and really invest in the data center hardware needed for all that. The goal seems to be streamlining some internal layers and putting resources into what they see as the big growth areas.
Okay, that sets the stage clearly. If money's moving out of corporate staffing, let's track where it's potentially moving to. Let's start with the areas Amazon seems to be betting on for growth, the potential winners, you could say.
Right. So the first and maybe most direct beneficiary comes straight from that AI push. We're talking AI infrastructure and accelerators. When Amazon says they want to accelerate AI, well, that means they need a ton of computing power for training the models, for actually running the AI tools for users. That's called inference. And this creates demand for things like custom chips, powerful GPUs, and the networking gear to connect everything in those data centers.
And GPUs immediately makes you think of NVIDIA, ticker NVDA.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned Broadcom, AVGO. How do they fit into this picture? What's their role?
Yeah, NVIDIA is definitely the big name for the GPUs, the sort of engines for training these huge AI models. Broadcom, that's ticker AVGO, comes in on a couple of fronts. They do specialized connectivity stuff, really important for the networking inside these giant data centers, making sure data flows super fast between all those processors. And they're also involved in custom chips, ASICs they're called, application-specific integrated circuits. Big companies like Amazon sometimes design these for very specific AI tasks, making them really efficient. Broadcom is a player there.
Okay, so we have the chips, the brains. Now, what about the buildings they go into? The second area getting investment seems to be the physical side, data center REITs and operators.
Correct. Amazon has publicly talked about spending billions on new data centers in the U.S., specifically geared towards these specialized AI tasks. And while AWS builds a lot themselves, the demand is just exploding. So they often work with partners, specialized infrastructure companies, to scale up faster than they could alone.
Why not just build absolutely everything in-house? Does that clash with the AWS growth story?
It's really about speed and location and specialization. These REITs, real estate investment trusts, they act like specialized landlords for tech. Companies like Equinix or Digital Realty, they already have these massive, ready-to-go facilities. They offer colocation, basically letting Amazon put its servers right next to other key internet infrastructure. It helps with interconnection, lets AWS expand quickly in important cities without waiting years to buy land and build.
So they're like the critical landlords for this digital expansion. And the names you mentioned are Equinix, ticker EQIX, and Digital Realty, DLR.
That's right. They provide that specialized space, kind of like utilities for computing infrastructure.
Okay, and then the third area benefiting, it seems, is within the AWS ecosystem itself. Software partners focused on AI.
Yes, exactly. It's the AI native cloud software that runs on or works very closely with AWS. Think about companies providing essential tools like observability platforms. These monitor and analyze how everything is running across huge cloud setups. Or data management tools. When Amazon pushes its own AI services, like its Bedrock platform for generative AI, the companies using it suddenly need much better tools to manage all the data involved, keep it secure, analyze performance.
So this sounds like it helps companies already plugged into that cloud workflow.
It really does. You know, if AWS customers start using more of Amazon's AI tools, these software partners benefit directly. It means more overall cloud usage, and AI just adds complexity, which means more need for sophisticated management and data tools.
And the examples here are well-known cloud software players. Datadog, ticker DDOG, and Snowflake, SNOW. It paints a picture of Amazon really focusing on silicon, the physical buildings, and the software needed for automation. All right, let's switch gears now. If a huge company like Amazon is getting leaner, flattening its structure, where does that create pressure? Let's look at the other side of the potential losers. The sectors may be facing some headwinds.
Okay, the first area that probably feels it quite quickly is HR tech and recruiting platforms. It's pretty straightforward. Big cuts to corporate headcount mean a sudden drop in hiring activity. If Amazon is cutting 14,000 roles and trying to flatten management, well, their need for new job postings, recruiting software seats, maybe external recruiters, that goes down.
And is this just an Amazon thing, or is it wider?
No, it seems to reflect something broader, particularly in big tech right now. There's a general move towards more efficiency, less of that hyperscaling hiring we saw for years, and that directly affects platforms whose business model depends on hiring volumes or selling software seats into large corporate HR teams.
So companies that rely on that transaction volume, we're thinking ZipRecruiter, ticker ZIP, and maybe Upwork, UPWK, which is big in the freelance hiring space.
Exactly. Both are quite exposed if corporate hiring cools off.
Okay. Then the second area, often impacted by corporate efficiency drives, is real estate. You mentioned specifically West Coast office landlords with tech exposure.
Yeah, this is sort of the physical consequence. When a major tenant like Amazon indicates slower hiring and maybe aims for a leaner HQ footprint, fewer people physically in the office, it puts a noticeable pressure on the commercial real estate market.
Fewer people using the space they already have and less appetite for expanding into new space. How does that play out?
It tends to push down occupancy rates and maybe lease pricing, especially in those really dense, expensive office markets where tech is dominant. Think Seattle, the Bay Area. Landlords heavily invested there feel it first.
Right. And the big names in that space would include Boston Properties, ticker BXP, and Kilroy Realty, KRC.
Those are two prominent examples, yes. Companies whose portfolios are quite weighted towards that tech sector growth story are more sensitive to these kinds of adjustments.
Got it. And the third category, feeling pressure. You pointed to the service firms that used to support those large corporate structures, IT services, and staff augmentation consultants.
Right. What seems to be happening is that the automation tools Amazon is investing so heavily in the AI we talked about earlier are partly designed to take over some administrative and basic IT tasks previously done by people. So as companies flatten those management layers and automate more back-office functions, the demand for certain types of outsourced work, like seat-based contracts or general IT project support, can decrease.
So instead of hiring an external team to manage basic cloud tasks, maybe an AI tool can now handle monitoring and routine fixes, meaning fewer contractor seats are needed.
That's the idea. Some of the human capacity, often supplied by these big global IT consulting firms, might be replaced by software capacity. We're talking about predictable, process-driven work, maybe basic IT support, routine infrastructure checks that's often targeted first by automation.
Which means those firms that provide this outsourced workforce might see fewer projects or tougher negotiations.
Yes, potentially. The large global services companies like Accenture, ticker ACN, and Cognizant, CTSH, they operate in this space and could face these kinds of headwinds as clients look to automate or handle more internally.
So pulling this all together, we see this clear movement. Capital seems to be flowing out of traditional corporate scale, things like recruiting, office space, maybe some general IT support, and flowing into specialized hardware, infrastructure, and AI tools that drive automation and presumably future growth.
That's the core story, yes. It looks like a very conscious prioritization. Amazon appears to be funding its push into AI and efficiency by trimming some of its traditional corporate overhead. It's allocating resources very deliberately towards what it likely sees as the biggest drivers of value going forward.
And that choice brings up a final thought, perhaps for you, the listener, to consider. How might this intense focus on automation and efficiency and the related pullback from traditional staffing and real estate needs influence similar decisions at other large companies, maybe even outside of tech, over the next year or so, as they too try to integrate AI and find their own efficiency gains? Thanks for tuning in today. Just a quick reminder, a necessary one. This discussion is for informational purposes only. It doesn't constitute financial advice or any recommendation to buy or sell securities. These are purely the opinions of the author.